Welcome to the All the Stuff podcast, where we jam about money, clutter, and food, and the real stuff under this stuff. Join me, Lisa Carpenter, your resident food coach, along with my co-hosts, money coach Jen Turrell and clutter coach Lisa Sharp, as we help you release what's weighing you down and heal your relationship with food, money, and clutter from the inside out. Welcome to the All the Stuff podcast. My name is Lisa Carpenter. I am the resident food coach of this merry band of three. We also have Lisa Sharp here, our clutter coach and all things organizational queen. And we have Jen Turrell, who is our money coach and has helped me tremendously get my finances in order. And today we wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of celebrating yourselves. So we're kind of wrapping up the end of January here. If you've been following along, you've been watching us ride out this holiday season, kick the wagons to the curb. And you've also heard us celebrate our wins, right, through Christmas. So Jen Turrell was talking about how she didn't eat as much cheese or drink as much wine as she normally had. I didn't spend nearly as much. I really uncovered a lot of spending patterns around the holidays, one being that buying more gifts means more love, right? And so really putting that aside and knowing that I'm loving my family, but it's not about the stuff, it's the experiences. And I don't know if I shared this story with you guys, it just popped into my head now, but what had come up for me was a memory around Christmas and how it was at my grandparents' place, and the amount of presents under the tree were about as big as the tree. So it was one of those moments when I walked into the living room at my grandparents' place as a young girl, and my eyes were just like, and I think that planted the memory of that was the magic of Christmas for me. So kind of becoming aware of that this year and making a conscious decision, I was going to spend less. I wasn't going to give as much. We were really going to, get away from all the stuff, which I know makes Lisa Sharp happy. And I've been into experiences for a long time, but it was getting comfortable with having less gifts under the tree. So although I didn't fully not debt, I did have to add a little bit to my debt. I've taken care of that, but I'm really celebrating the fact that I didn't guilt myself. I didn't feel shameful about any of it. I was very conscious and aware of my spending habits. I was very aware of the emotions that were attached to that. And I was able to just kind of flow through it, pretty easily and effortlessly. With my food, as always for me, if you're listening and you think I do this perfectly, I don't. There is no perfect. I love meringues. I love all things sugar. So, but as always, I navigate the holiday season so that I feel like I've had the things I really wanted to have and I didn't go overboard. So that felt really good. And we're sharing these wins, and we wanted to talk about sharing these wins because so often we can get focused on the things that we haven't done. We wish we'd done differently. We coulda, shoulda, woulda. And it creates this negative spiral that keeps us stuck where we don't want to be, instead of actually celebrating how far we've come, what we did really great, and giving ourselves permission to say, like, I did awesome. It didn't need to be perfect. I did awesome. So that's how I'm feeling as we, now move into February, because I feel like January is kind of all the dust settles, right? Like the residual Christmas stuff we were talking about, and, everybody's back in school, and it's like, okay, we're in this now till spring break. Right? Pull up your bootstraps. So celebrating ourselves is so, so important in terms of creating success. And I think a lot of people avoid celebrating themselves, one, because they've learned that, well, if you celebrate yourself, look at you with your big ego. We've told it's been that we're being braggalicious, and that's not cool. So we've picked up a lot of these stories around what it means to celebrate ourselves, and in the process, we've withered away our self-worth, and we get judgy around other people who are celebrating themselves. and wondering how they can do it and why we feel so horrible about it. So I would love to hear your guys' stories around celebrating. I know for me it was something I really had to step into because I did feel like, you know, like I was bragging, or like I never wanted anybody to think that I had an ego or I was better than them. But I now know that it's so imperative for me to actually give myself those daily high fives and to celebrate all my wins, as small as they may be, because they're so important for my growth. So who wants to jump in first?
I'll go.
Okay.
I was waiting you out.
Yeah, right. I'll just do a stare down. You know, it's interesting that as children, like we love getting the affection and the kudos and the being recognized for things. And at some point, we stop doing that. Like, it's like if you do those things too much, then you're bragging, you think you're better than whatever. And you're not allowed to like celebrate yourself. And we kind of tamp that down. But I don't think we as human beings ever stop needing that. It's just that it's no longer socially acceptable to do that. So, and then when we get to be adults, especially if we are, I think, moms, you don't get the same sort of recognition that you do when you're working. And I mean, like, obviously you can be working and be a mom at the same time, but I just mean you don't get the recognition, except for, you know, say Mother's Day or something, which always feels a little like, really? This is it? Okay. But I think that this all just sort of plays into the fact that we really do need this, and we need to be our own advocates. We need to be our own cheerleaders. We need to be our own, you know, be able to look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I did that. And it doesn't really matter if other people said that. Obviously, we believe that support is super important, and that, you know, being in a community or being, you know, having healthy relationships where you feel supportive are extraordinarily important. But we can also do these things for ourselves, and I think there's a lot of internal pushback around doing this. And so people will sort of go like, yeah, that sounds like a really nice idea. And they're thinking, I'm never going to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, and I just think it's sort of, it's a skill that needs to be cultivated. And then once you start doing it pretty regularly, you'll start hearing yourself in a different way. You'll start to hear sort of the negative feedback loop that we put ourselves in. We'll become more aware of it, and then we'll become more detached from it with that awareness. And then we'll get to being even better to ourselves, even kinder to ourselves. I was thinking about that earlier today, about how much softer I am toward myself over the last couple of years. And honestly, it makes me a little sad that I didn't come to this sooner. I'm not a person who really goes down the path of regret, because I really do believe that we just learn things as we need to, and, you know, life lessons just show up however they show up. But there's a little part of me that's like, God, I really hated on myself for a long time. And what a waste of time that was, you know, a waste of energy. And, you know, these are just things we sort of come to us, I think, with age a lot of the time, and just experience. But now that I feel so much softer toward myself, I feel so much softer toward everyone else. It's really interesting. And I think it's helped me sort of be even more compassionate. And I've always considered myself to be a really compassionate person toward other people, but I wasn't really giving myself that same experience. Mm-hmm. So all of that is to say is that celebration of oneself, I think, is so valuable, so powerful, and so not easy. It's just not easy to do it, and it takes practice. And, you know, I was doing some goal setting earlier today, and I just realized this when you brought this up, Lisa. I was thinking about that internal conversation, and I was literally criticizing myself for not having better goals.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
you know,
is that not just
there's such a lesson in here as well, because, you know, celebrating is tied to so much more. It has to do with our willingness to receive from ourselves and receive from others. And many of the women that I work with are huge givers, like givers to the point of like they're almost doormats in their own lives. And being able to celebrate yourself means you have to be willing to receive from yourself, receive the high fives, receive the you're awesome, receive the I love you, I think you're amazing. And often we've been taught that receiving isn't, like, that's not okay. We have to be givers more, right? So we've cut off that flow. So to get to the place where you're willing to receive from yourself will open you up to then be willing to receive more from other people as well. There was a lady in my class, and I've never forgotten this, because you guys have heard me say that I write a lot of things on my mirror, right? Because it's that message that I want to receive from myself every single day, and to remind myself to, you know, celebrate those things and literally bring them into reality. And she had written on her mirror, be kind. And it was a reminder for her every time she looked in the mirror to not let the negative voices rise up and say, you know, your butt's too wide, your thighs are too thick, look at your jelly belly, whatever she had going on for her. And it was just that little thing that reminded her to just be nice. And because she put that up, she was able to start celebrating the fact that she wasn't talking negatively about herself. So even that led into more and more celebrating. So I would love to hear from you, Jen, how you celebrate yourself and what you're celebrating.
Well, you know what? I was just thinking, last night I started listening to a book that was called The 5 Love Languages of Children. I never read the original 5 love languages. I had people tell me what they were, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. But
love that book.
Have you read the children one particularly?
No.
I'm sure it's similar, and the guy even said that he really hesitated to write the book about children because he studied couples, and he was a psychologist who helped adults. Yeah. But over time, watching parents apply these things to their children as well, and then talking to some child specialists, they were looking at it, and it got me thinking about my 2 girls who are very different, and one is so obviously a love language of touch, and another is a love language of quality time, are their 2 main things. And this morning when I woke my husband up and I was telling him about what I listened to in the audiobook as I was, you know, getting the kids to sleep, and then I eventually asked him what his was, and I was surprised. And it was interesting what I thought mine was, because I never really realized. I think mine, from growing up with divorced parents and all this kind of stuff, I probably used to think of it as gifts. And I used to really overspend on gifts a lot too. That was something like the holidays. I really wanted to have something that would show people exactly how much I loved them, and that they would remember, and that they could look at, and that, you know, it needed to be this big significant thing, and not just the thought that counts. And over time, I think I've managed to shift that, especially with having kids, into acts of service. So I show my love by doing acts of service for other people, for my family, for my kids. And I feel unloved when no one will do any acts of service. So even if my husband is, you know, I was surprised that he said he was touch. And I was like, you are? And it made me think of times when I'm someone who, I think I'm a highly sensitive person, and having 2 children who basically like to fall asleep with their limbs on me, I end up often feeling kind of overtouched. You know, there are times where I'm like, I just need to close the bathroom door and have nobody scream my name and nobody touch me just for a little while. Then I can recharge, and then I can go back. And, you know, I am very, very physical with my kids. We hug a lot. They get on my back and ride. And, but this idea of thinking about me doing this touch right now is how I'm showing you love, and you're understanding that. And me folding your clothes and making your food and doing all these things that I think are very loving really don't translate into anything for them. So thinking about that, like, one of the languages of love is this verbal affirmation, which I think is also important for me too. So I say the words "I love you" a lot to my kids, and I really love hearing them, especially having kids with autism who didn't speak for a really long time. Now that they can finally tell me they love me verbally, like that's huge too. But as you guys were talking, I was kind of translating that into this love language thing with children, and not that I'm big into the inner child thing, but there have been moments where I've had people say, would you say that to your kids, something you're saying to yourself, some negative self-talk that you have? And I would never, ever say those things to my kids. And just thinking about, giving myself the high fives and the good job. But, I'm always telling my kids, like, you're so creative. You tried so hard. That was so great. And celebrating their wins, doing that for ourselves too. How much of a difference can that make? And it also just makes life more fun, like having little celebrations all the time. Like the other day, Miffy asked if it was my unbirthday. And I was like, yeah, it's totally my unbirthday. And then she was like, is it my unbirthday too? And I was like, yeah, it's your unbirthday. And she's like, is it Tallulah's unbirthday? And I was like, oh my God, it is totally all of our unbirthday. We all have the same unbirthday today. We need to celebrate it. So we went out to Starbucks to celebrate it. But, to get Lou, that's the one place she can have her soy frappuccino thing that's fun for her. But that was fun. I mean, and that was a nothing celebration. It wasn't that we were celebrating an accomplishment. But celebrations make life fun. And you think about Christmas. I was reading Jeanette Winterson's, she has a new book with these 12 days and 12 stories and 12 recipes of Christmas. And she kind of goes through the history of why it was so important, and that it really originally was not religious, it was pagan. But the whole point was midwinter is a hard, scary, low time for humans anywhere cold. You don't have as much sunlight. Food might be running out. You really need, spring to come, but you're kind of in the dead of winter. You're right in the middle of it, and you still have a long ways to go. So having this celebration of lights and green, having fir trees, having trees that don't die in the winter, and putting candles and lights and having a celebration really can get you through that seasonal depressive disorder, And then you have New Year's, you can celebrate New Year's. So you kind of you need something to get you through these hard times out to the other side when things get better again. And, I think we should all celebrate lots more things, not just accomplishments even. I mean, sometimes just that it's everybody's not birthday that day can be a reason to go celebrate a little.
I agree. It's it brings a lot more fun into the world and into your life when you do celebrate. And what I would love to encourage our listeners to do is write a list of 20 things. People are going to be like, oh my God, 20 things, Lisa? Why so many? If you can't find 20 things to celebrate about you, there's more going on here that we need to look at. But sit down and take some time and celebrate 20 things about you. Maybe that it's you're an amazing mom. Maybe it's that you got your finances in order. Maybe it's that you paid your bills on time. Like, I still celebrate. I swear to God, I still celebrate when I pay my bills early, because it's still such a big deal for me to open the bills and be like, yeah, I'm totally paying this, and I'm awesome that I paid this on time and early. It can be, celebrating that you said something nice to yourself. It could be celebrating that I bought myself flowers over the holidays. Why? Because I wanted flowers for myself. They made me happy. But writing 20 things that you can actually celebrate about who you are, why you're important on this planet, why you matter, and really carry that into this year with you. If you're listening, it's 2017 now, that you can carry throughout the year, that you really can refer back to on the days that you're not feeling great about yourself. And I encourage all of my clients at the end of the day to celebrate 3 things about themselves. It can be, something about themselves, something that they did that they're like, they need to give themselves a kudos for. But they have to come out with at least 3 things that they can celebrate, because what that does is it actually starts to rewire your brain to focus on the positive, to focus on the celebrations and less on the things that you feel like you dropped the ball, because that tends to be our default as human beings. But you can literally flip all of that around. You can change your life. You can change your mindset. You can change your perspective on everything. And when you do that consistently, like, my life is incredibly different now than it was before, just because of my outlook on how I approach everything. And, so yeah, I want to really encourage our listeners to do that and be open to receiving from themselves.
And if you have trouble getting to 20, I'd say think about your kids if you have kids. Could you think of 20 things that are awesome about your kids? How many of those also apply to you? And I also want to say about the 3 things a day, like, I could see I've been in some groups where, there are these short term exercises of like, for 5 days, we're going to do whatever or whatever. I would plan in what I wanted to say I had done in the group and then do it, because sometimes it can work the other way too, rather than going to the end of the day and thinking about it for the first time at the end of the day. Oh, what did I do today that I can look back on? Sometimes you can plan your day out like, oh my gosh, okay, this would be a great thing to celebrate later on. So I'm going to plan that in right now.
I love that.
Absolutely. It's like a reverse engineering it.
Yeah.
Totally reverse engineering it.
And honestly,
in the process, you make yourself awesome.
So true. And that, honestly, when I'm getting really overwhelmed with life, with work, with business, with home life, whatever it is, I'll say to myself, if I'm getting in that freak out, like, oh my God, forget it, mode, I'll think like, what would feel the best if I had actually finished this thing or completed this thing or talked to that person or did whatever it was by the end of the day. 3 things max. Sometimes it's just 1. But like, it's like that one thing that you've been kind of dragging around that you want to like get it off your back. I think that's, it's a super easy thing to do, and it makes such a huge difference because then you have that momentum. This is all about forward positive momentum. The more of these little changes that we can make, appreciating ourselves, talking to ourselves, giving ourselves high fives, planning things out so that tomorrow will be easier for us. Those are like, that's like the crux of organization, right? Like that's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's not the point to have everything looking perfect all the time. The point is so that your life can be easier. End of story.
Exactly. So I already shared one thing that I celebrate all the time, which is paying my bills early or on time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to share 2 more things, and I think that each of us should share 3 things, because if we're asking people to do this, I think we should be able to do it for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So my second thing is, this is going to be past the date when people are listening. Tomorrow I was called up by a radio station, which is the national radio station here in Canada. So I'm going on the radio, which is very, very exciting. However, if this had happened to me 2 or 3 years ago, I would have been in full-blown panic mode. I would have been nervous. I would have been anxious. And I am so excited. So I'm celebrating the fact that I feel excited now when I get to go in and do something I've never done, and that I trust myself enough to not totally trip over my tongue. Like, I actually trust myself to sit down in front of a mic and just say whatever needs to be said, which is awesome. The other thing that I am celebrating about myself specifically today is just how much space I've given myself between Christmas and New Year's to chill out. So I'm still working, but there's so much space and ease in it, and that's a huge thing for me. Like, to just go through the season just kind of like, oh, this is chill. I can show up. I can not show up. I can do my own thing. That's huge for me, because for so many years I was in that constant state of like busy, doing. So I'm really celebrating and acknowledging those things about me today. How about you, Lisa Sharp? You've been sitting there thinking, right? Like, what am I going to say? What are my 3?
Yeah, well, I love exercises like this, though, because it does force you to think. And then you have to really start considering what have I been doing? What is, it's such a useful exercise. Okay, so my 3 things that I am celebrating right now are the fact that, A, I have a business. I let that go. I don't ever think about it. I'm just doing the thing. This is just what I do. I don't really stop and think about what I've created very often, because I'm always like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And today I am just really celebrating that I've done this thing. I've created a business. I've been in business for nearly 3 years now. I love it to pieces. It gives me immeasurable pleasure and joy to do what I do. It's so fun, and I love this sort of risk-taking part of me that was able to do this and was just going to do it regardless of what anybody said or thought it was a good idea or whatever. I was just like, no, I'm just going to do this. And that's really cool. I really like that part of my personality that just goes and does the thing and sort of blazes my own path. Second thing is I just finished and I haven't even said this out loud yet, so you guys are hearing this the first time. I just finished my first draft of my book.
Congratulations. That is awesome.
That's
I'm giving you a high five.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm.
Boom.
And and it's hard for me to say that because again, this is just how insidious our thinking can be, right? So I did this huge thing. I've been working on it for 6 months, and I've worked with a book coach, and we've done all this stuff and all this writing, and we're going to go through final edits tomorrow, and then I'll start on the second draft of it. But I was thinking, I should have gotten more done. I've been working on this for 6 months. I should have had X, Y, and Z taken care of by now. Instead of being like, oh, hell yeah, I wrote a book. Granted, it's just a draft, but I wrote a book. Like that's, this is why we need these reality checks. So yeah, so that's super cool. And the third thing I'll say is, I've been working on my business goals and stuff for 2017. And I've been figuring out ways to work in philanthropy into my business. And that is making me so freaking happy to be able to do that, to be able to give money to people who need it. And that just feels really good. And I'm really proud of myself that I've taken the step to actually turn that idea into some action.
Well done.
Awesome.
How about you, Jen? It's your turn.
We should have had Lisa go last because I can't top a first draft of a book. So
it's not about comparison.
But that is so awesome, and that is further than most people who want to write a book ever get. Finishing a first draft is awesome. So I'm going to celebrate that with you. I have been doing a lot of writing myself and doing lots of writing goals, so I have been celebrating lots of little ones. I also have the stack up here. I do 10 ideas a day. And I've started putting them on these waiter pads now because of James Altucher. That was his recommendation. I used to just put them in my 750 words, my morning pages that I would write. But I really like having them here now. I actually just ordered one of those skewer things that you stick them on because I was like, now that I have them on these little pads, they're starting to get out of control. And he just throws them away. But I've actually been going back, and you can see the little check marks by ones that I've done. And a lot of these are ideas that in the past would disappear. That they, you have an idea about something and they just flitter away, and then sometime you're like, oh, did someone ever invent that thing? Like one of mine was I wanted a iPhone case that has the headphones built in so you can pull them out and pull it out, and then it's retractable and it never gets tangled because I'm always going through headphones. And I went and I found someone who did it, but I didn't really like the design. I'm not going to patent it because somebody else has already done it, obviously. But if no one had done it, that might have been my $1 million idea. You never know. So that's kind of, and I do different themes on different days sometimes. Or sometimes it's just whatever occurs to me. But actively going through and doing 10 a day has gotten my idea muscles really going, which is a hard thing for me because I'm always wanting to start new things. I'm one of those people who loves having ideas, starting stuff, and then finishing is the hard thing, which is why I have not yet finished first draft of my book that I'm working on, but I'm going to catch you up. I'm going to get there. So those are two things that I celebrate, right? Did I do two? What was the first one?
No, you did one.
Yeah.
I did the 10 ideas a day. Oh, writing, my daily writing. So I have daily writing goals, and I do celebrate that whenever I do it. Oh, and another one. So I was thinking about a great thing with celebrating is the idea of gamification of different things. So I have this app called Digit, and whenever I get to savings goals, it sends me celebrations for me. I wonder if I have the most recent one in here, which you'd only see if you're looking at my oh yeah. Here's one. They send me, I don't know if you can see this guy. There's clapping. I don't even know who that guy is.
Love it.
What is that? I don't know who it is. But anyways, once there was a goose, doing a little goose dance. So anytime, you get over, the next 1,000 or whatever in the savings account that you're doing, it sends you these funny GIFs. And I love that. I love different apps and ways of celebrating these milestones that you get to.
Yeah.
So, Digit's one of them. I used to really like Ready for Zero until they folded. They got bought by somebody and they took away. This was my favorite debt reduction app because it would help you get to these milestones and it would let you know when you did. It would, send you emails and celebrate like when we paid off our car. It was like you completely eradicated a source of debt. Congratulations. You did this great thing. So I think any way of working those things in, because that's something that could pass by, especially if it's like, getting your credit card down. It's something that's ongoing. You still have that credit card. It's not like a car where you pay it off completely and it disappears unless you cut up the credit card. But if you set goals, having ways of, tracking it, seeing you get there, and then having somebody, something, or yourself stop and be like, that was awesome. So yeah, I'll celebrate that I just got to a new savings milestone the other day. That was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. I think you should record yourself doing a happy dance and then just send it to yourself. Post it in the group. Right? I think we should post more celebrations inside of our Facebook group.
Totally. Right? I did in our Facebook group the other day, I posted the photo of the brand new pair of Chucks.
Yes.
Because I did show you guys my Chucks that had holes in them, and I finally threw them away.
Yeah, so I'm celebrating that with you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm celebrating that with you. So this is probably a great place to kind of wrap up. So if you're following us on iTunes, be sure to leave a review. I don't know why I can't get this right every single time, however many episodes we've recorded, and I'm still like, what am I supposed to say? Leave a rating, subscribe, and leave a review. Tell us what you want to hear more of. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you want to hear less of, because we really want to make sure that we are talking to our community.
And if you're watching on iTunes, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below, because we'd like to hear what you think on iTunes as well.
Mm-hmm. And come on over and join our private Facebook group.
I said iTunes, I meant YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, we want to know what you think.
Exactly. And we're celebrating the fact that we just keep going, even when half the time we're totally making this up as we go. Right? And this whole podcast actually is something that needs to be celebrated, because it was really a start before you're ready. It was very much an inspired idea and hey, you guys want to do this? And you think anybody will want to hear what we have to say? Mm-hmm. And it's turned into one of the projects I've had the most fun with in my business, with the most ease. And it's just always such a great time when I get to connect with you ladies. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We look forward to putting out whatever our next episode is going to be as we head into February. Crazy, because we're actually recording this in December still. So look at us all organized.
I know, we're so ahead of the game.
Right? Let's celebrate
that. Yeah. And this is one of my highlights. Every time I know it's podcast recording day, I'm like, yes, my morning is awesome.
Right? So thank you for celebrating with me, ladies. I appreciate all of you. It sure does make it a lot easier to stay in the room with some of the monkeys in my head when I know I'm connecting with you guys, and I get to share this ride with you. So I wanted to just say a special thank you to each of you. It's going to be an amazing year for us individually and for this podcast. So until next time,
quick happy dance. Woohoo! Woohoo! Oh yeah!
Hello, all the stuff viewers and listeners. Lisa Carpenter here, your resident food coach. And today I want to extend a very special invitation to a free 3-part masterclass series that I'm running on how to lose weight and keep it off. And I'm going to be digging into topics such as why willpower never works for creating lasting weight loss and the tools that you're missing to create that lasting change. We're also going to talk about how to curb your cravings and gain control of your emotional eating. I know this is something that plagues so many of you. We're also going to talk about foods that create radical transformation in your body, not just physically, but also emotionally. And we're going to get into all the kind of nitty-gritty proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and how you can kind of put them all together to create your own nutritional blueprint. It's going to be great fun. I'm super excited to be delivering this content, and we kick off on February 14th. So I would love to have you register. You can find the sign-up page at lisacarpenter.ca/masterclass. I've also included the links down below. Again, we start February 14th, and I would love to see you there.